You pick your mug. And there's like, fuck, like I'm really, don't pour. It's like, ugh. Like sips look at that and they're like, damn. But I was thirsty. Oh, so good. It's the last drop. Ever. Hi. I'm Elliot. And I'm Liv. You're Liv, and we're together. Yeah, what's up, Dave? I'm hugging a tree right now. I got a few like posts that I kind of want to talk about today. If I can like really overcome my my I don't know, programming resistance. It's like a really fine line when discerning my personality versus kind of like my soul spirit, because sharing, communicating, connecting, that's all so lovely and easy. And this medium is just not the medium, but it's the medium of the moment. So whatever. The moral of the story is I'm here because I fucking love you. Yeah, brother. This share I'm going to try and keep short because I have a few questions that I was emailed that I'd like to address, and they're really good questions. One is I was contacted by Soldier Soul, just talking about defending themselves or kind of their awareness around archons and feeling attacked and things like that. And I don't love talking about a lot that I know unless somebody asks, because I feel like that is irresponsible. And then I left my email in another comment around kind of like those necklace emblem things that protect you from EM and whatnot. So I explained how they work in a really fundamental and in a way that like we're not like, I study shit until I learn the truth of it. And so learning that science is mostly the industry of confusing people psychologically about like pressure mediation, PSI, so that people don't fucking get it. And then they run to other people for authority or authorship. So that's like, I don't know, like a preview or something like that. I want to try and get to them today. So this is like a noodle. And then I've also got one that's kind of was inspired by Altalove MJ, actually, around birth, conception, PMS, and like the lunar cycle, female like menstruation. And like, I have insight into that because I'm a guy and I don't experience that firsthand, which means as a man, and like you maybe feel me, we have like a unique perception or opportunity to perceive from the like, oh, like that is happening, not of me, but through me. Like a woman does not know how a man could know about menstruation because we're different, anyways. And it kind of has to do with fields and really fundamentally, I use Wikipedia constantly, not for actual information, although it's good for that because like it doesn't sometimes, because it doesn't always, like it's totally misleading. So I fundamentally use it to understand the like common social perception and thus misperception. But the nature of truth is that it can only be ever half hidden. And it's like you split the infinite up and like half, 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 half. If you just keep halving it, every half is its own entirety. So all you really need is a little bit of truth to keep going. So I use that. I use it to kind of find out, like little seeds. But also, it's the nature of like truth, and hiding it is like by introducing these disciplines of like this is that, so they can kind of tell a lot of truth about light, about sound. I'll use that as an example because they're really different, when really they're precisely like expressions of the same thing. So in that regard, reading like briefly about PMS, it's like we don't really know why it happens. Whenever I see I don't know or we don't really know, I call bullshit. It's like, oh, there's something being concealed there. Because like retroductive logic alone, one, necessitates like very real like affirmations in the sense of like truth affirmed. It's like, well, this is what we can know, and is inclusive of the I don't know. Whereas like popular mechanics for kids, grew up with that show, right? And that basically instead goes, there's things that we don't like, and we don't really know why it happens. And then it goes on to be like, this is the theory, and then speaks like concretely about the things that we supposedly know. We don't reference the I don't know anymore, but because now it's like, this is like, we know this, but it's all abstractions of theories. Astrophysics is like peak hilarity when it comes to this. I've always got to like lean all the way in because I try not to use my glasses. Dave, man, I just like we write similarly. I really appreciate it. It's like poetic and thusly the most truthful, like symbolically specific. I love the use of flare there too, for its infinite fire. My was my enjoyment, and then just taking a moment to enjoy the poetic symbolism of the sprouts and bringing back the old and the grave and that imagery. It's gorgeous. Fuck Dave. High five. Boom. So, like I said, this is going to actually be more or less like a direct transmission. The title is basically what I'm basically saying, like, that paradigm or that cliche of, especially in the new age neurolinguistic programming type of paradigm, it's like, don't frame things in the negative. When you frame things in the negative, your brain doesn't understand the negative, and so it'll only give you the other. It'll only give you like what you don't want. Now, as a philosopher, as a yoga teacher, as like a cognitive physician, in the sense of physics, doing it, physician. Yeah, precisely. Layers of communication that are woven in expression, that express multiplicity in its meaning that resonates on a, I'm going to say cellular level, not as like a bass, but as one of those resonant frequencies that understand communication deeper than the word spells that we use. Speaking of word cells, word spells, both, because word cells are the prisons that we make when we say, but you said this, but I said that. And moving towards my my topic share is I was first inspired to think about this more presently once more when I was kind of hanging out with my nephews. My nephews are 4 and 2, and they're watching the new rendition of Sesame Street, which is just the old rendition of Sesame Street, but with fucking tablets and cell phones and more attempts at conditioning, social norms of division. And one of those things was like singing a fucking song or whatever, dance about sharing. It's good to share. Always be sharing. Like, oh, no. They're good for sharing. You're a good boy for sharing. Good, Teresa. Good sharing. And I gotta sit in a way that's more comfortable. All right. And what was just really present in my field was, because my nephews are so young, especially the 2-year-old. But if you've ever had experience with any kind of toddler, they don't need to be told to share. We're constantly being no, that's your food. No, that oh, thank you. That's a cool toy. But here's it back. It's as soon as they distinguish that they can have a thing, what do they want to do? They want to give it to the people they love as an expression of love. They're oh, I love this thing. Here, have this thing that I love. Oh, this is really tasty. It's here, have this food that I love. Kids don't need to be told to share. But by telling them to share, you're creating space for their not sharing. It's if I should share. Well, it's oh, you mean I don't have to? And they're not thinking in those terms, but they're expressing it explicitly. And what we call the terrible twos is really just their humanity and then their divinity acting out in repulsion of this inconsistency, right? We affirm that age is they're just put, and I maintain life is about finding your boundaries and then pushing against them to discover more, right? So in a simplistic way, they, it's okay, I can appreciate and even run along with, it's where do I end and you begin? Can I do this? Can I do that? Can I do this? Can I do that? And we call it terrible twos because our whole familial structure, our society, or as removed as it seems from these little tiny beings, it is not. We're all from day one, really, we've put them in a cell that does not feel right. I really made a strong effort with my nephew because, oh God, he's my godson, and truly I love him so much. Him and I are one. And so I determined to teach him yes before no. And he makes these really primal light language sounds in lieu of speech, and he's super psychic, which I have so much fun with. And it makes everybody else super uncomfortable because they're like, what are they doing? And we're just like staring at each other and then laughing, then staring at each other and laughing. And like, and then I'll move on from the kids but it's part of it, teaching them colors. You know, they have a block. He's a block, and it's green, and my aunt, whom I love very much, but is very much in the like the self-contained bubble of denial. You know, it's like so what color is this? And he's like, yellow. Like all the colors are yellow. But it's like, no, that's not yellow, that's green. No, that's not yellow, that's blue. But with divine sight, which these kids, and I really want to say all kids, babies, youngins, are like life necessitates their being gifted with true sight, and that just being blinded, it's like, no, it's not yellow, it's green, it's not yellow, it's blue. Actually, no, he's right. He's right. All like that is yellow first. Like it is producing this this image of yellow, and that's what he's calling out. Now, to speak to that really quickly, for a nugget, we're lied about how our eyes work, and truly, we like the cones. They everything is frequency determination. So we say the cones pick up color. Sure, whatever. The cones pick up a range of frequencies that are of a certain size, nanometers, and we designate that range between red, green, and blue, right? Yeah, red, green, and blue. Because what are the primary colors? Red, blue, and yellow. See, more confusion. So the cones pick up red, green, and blue. It's really just a frequency range of like size. And then the rods are white and black. Those things don't exist. There is no white and black. What all that is another kind of more kind of sensitive range that is basically offering information around basically brightness or darkness. And then the way that the RGB cones work is we receive frequency range, and then accordingly we say like and then all the work is done. All the work is done outside us. All the colors are already there, and then our eyes pick it up, and it's like a straight relay, and that's not true. They go from like the lens, cones, and then there's another layer, which, and the word escapes me because this is not what this video is about, but I'll move on. It basically all colors that they go from this RGB range to another range where basically it's a spectrum between one eye is blue and yellow, the other eye is red and green, and then depending on the frequency range, like it basically it takes red and then minuses blue, and then if there's more blue or less blue, it determines if a thing is blue or yellow. And then the other side, it does the plus or the minus, whatever the other one doesn't do for red or green. So just to I guess how this relates to everything is just how it to the confusion. By not fucking with real colors, but fucking with frequency, they can block out, is any interested party, can block out color ranges not by hiding it behind a wall, but by creating enough of another color and then making it not that bright or making it a little darker, just in so much that our brains can no longer register resonance with an actual divine like color transmission. So this goes to like the blue beams and everything like that, and how it comes back to my nephew is the color of dissonance is yellow, because yellow is, first of all, it is one of the primary colors, but primary in the sense that the source of yellow is closer than the sources of dark blue and dark red and things like that. Like, I want to say the sun's opportunity is yellow, and then the earth's opportunity is blue. And if they can just fuck with those colors enough, then all the more subtle resonant frequencies blur and don't actually fall into their resonance ranges. So everything becomes yellow. And then blue, if everything becomes yellow, then blue's gone. And so we don't actually see blue anymore. Interesting. I thought maybe I wouldn't have shared all that if it weren't you, Dave, but I know you would find that fascinating. And then I'm going to read, but I want to go back to the topic share. So by saying, like, you should share, it creates space for not sharing. If we don't mention not sharing or sharing and not sharing, it's just done. And then what a person can or cannot do is determined by their environment, which is determined by the people around them, which is determined by love, really, ideally. And then it's spoken to in like a moment-to-moment specific, truly like living, loving experience, so that there's no overarching rules or laws. Rules or laws. If let's go to the commandments, and because this is, at least in like my vein of awareness, this is one of the popular examples of framing in the negative. All of them are: you shalt not, you shalt not, you shalt not, you shalt not, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. Well, if you say don't do it, that means it gets done. So if it gets done, I'm breaking the rules, but fuck it, I'm also doing what I want. And so all of the commandments make room for all of those atrocities. And I say atrocities as a personal bias. I don't give a fuck. But thou shalt do, or thou, except the first one, right? It's like, thou shalt have only one God, no God before me. Oh, but see, it's like it's even actually subtle. It's like it's like thou shalt, but no. It's like, oh, huh. And then moving on from that, because I think the point is made in and of itself, I think what's also super interesting in the literary rewriting of our histories, how, because there's like a kind of vein or of myth or legend that Moses is kind of is the like the stem leader or the seed leader of being deceived, where like the burning bush and when he goes up to the mountain or whatever, that's not actually that like, if since I mentioned Archon, like that would be like that he was actually being communicated with by an Archon. Oh, I think that word is so goofy. Anyways, and so when he comes back down, he sees everybody worshiping the bull, and the bull is Tauros, And if you look into the histories, Tau, Tausin, like the mathematical expression of Tau is actually divine, and everything is shapes and meaning. And so basically he comes back down and everybody's worshiping the golden bull. And what does he do? He smashes the commandments. Well, my interpretation of that in honesty is basically he spent all this fucking time at the top of the mountain. And like, really, if he's spending all that time at the mountain, basically he's just not going where he wants to go. I imagine he's up there. He's like, but, and then there's like false God, this false light is like, no, da, 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 da. And it's like, but no, that doesn't make sense. He's like, but, blah, blah, blah. It's like, no, like, I don't really get it. It's like, and then finally he's like, okay, I get it. And then the commandments, right? Because he's like, all right, thou shalt not this, thou shalt not that. He's like, okay, fine, okay, I guess this makes sense. But he doesn't recognize, the error. But that's also funny. Earth, you are, boom. So he comes down the mountain, and he sees the rightness of his wrongs, and he's like, oh, fuck me. And he smashes the tablets so that they can carry on they can mosey right along. But instead, what are we taught? Or how's it rewritten? It's like, oh, you guys are appalling. I'm so appalled that I have these commandments and I'm just going to smash them because you guys don't deserve them. So wait. These rules weren't determined. You went up on the mountain, did your thing, left everyone down there to basically take care of each other. You came down and found everybody celebrating and worshiping, a false god or a false idol, when really they're not sitting there being like, fuck this guy, we're gonna worship this guy just to like stick it to that guy. It's like, were they down there just like maybe thanking and feeling the love that they really felt? Because that's easier than, I don't know, lying? Yeah. Okay. So you come down, but now you've got these rules, and they broke them, but they didn't know that they were rules when they broke them. And so you're like, that's rule number 1, and you broke it. You already broke the rules. Now you don't get to see the rules. No more rules. You don't deserve the rules because you broke rule number 1. It's like, what? What was rule number 1? And he's like, fuck, I broke them. Oh, shit. Now I can't resist. I just want to read what you're writing. Oh, here. Exactly. At 10:36. It's like, that is when we don't okay. When we don't frame it in a box, but plant it in there to grow. Precisely. If there is no box, there is no thought. Context is everything, which is part of the hiding, right? If you like, everybody's talking about these fucking orbs and these things in the skies. Like, I know what they are, but it's not useful to just come on and make a video about it, because we get, like, first of all, then that information, it gets to be plucked and kind of like remanded. Plus, that kind of knowledge, you have to ask. You have to ask for that knowledge. I asked. I kept asking, and then that's how I know. And really, that's how all truth is shared, by questing. But the conditioning is like, no, watch Sesame Street and they'll tell you how things work. So the box is useful, and like you're saying, just don't put a fucking lid on it. Like, let it be its own box. In fact, like, we're framing the box. So the box doesn't even need walls, right? And so they can connect with other boxes, and then we can look back and be like, what is even a box, anyways? It's like, a box is something I make. There is no spoon, box. I'm the spoon, box, spoon. Wow. Right? Exactly. And really, and I mean, this is me agreeing with what we do. It's like, so long as you just like don't go along with what you're told when what you're told hurts you, you kind of come to these conclusions because first causes or first principles, like we live in the way things work. Oh, I dig it. I'm so glad you said that. I'm going to say not sharing has a divine nature as well. Fuck yes. Exactly. Ultimately, a child will learn not to share that which lowers their own frequency and share that which uplifts their frequency. Precisely. The child will learn to like determine its own boundaries and instead of seeking other to determine those boundaries. Because what do? We basically like it's or not we. This is definitely not we. It's like what is done. First of all, we give authorship to the screens and to laws and to governments and things like that. But as a child, uh, we give like almost equal authorship to programming, television programming, and parents slash adults. But all of that is so skewed that our divinity necessitates rebelling against it. And then we get to actually a pretty early age because we're already in school where, and like if you're someone like myself who, like my parents are from South America and my father left the scene pretty early, but my mother, God willing, would like she's not the kind that will ever leave. And that's me just going to stop there because I'm going to be kind about it all today. But my mom didn't have the education that was available to me, even not just from coming from like a subjugated third world country, but also like shit. In 89, when I was being taken to the library, the little library, to pick out books, in 69, that library was rare and still nothing compared to in 49, fuck that. Now, this is even before the internet. Libraries, like my mom, like didn't have access to that kind of information. All that to say, really early on, my parents' authorship, it's like, oh no, I got teachers and books and shit. Like you don't know shit. I can know better than you. And then you get older, and then the school system is basically a joke. So you're like, oh, teachers, you don't fucking have authorship. It's like, but what stays consistent? This thing. Also, plane tickets, speeding tickets, birth certificates, you know, uh, police, death penalties, right? It's like all that other shit that's like, oh, I don't want to touch that. What stays? 911. When something goes awry, 911. Awry is one of my favorite words. I'm 34. I think until like 32, I was saying that word as Ari because I just read it way more than I'd heard it. And so awry and Ari were almost two different words for me. I was like, oh, look at me. Old dog, new tricks. Or old dog still tricked by old dog. All right, let's do this. Yes. So let me. I'm gonna. I love that, Dave, because I get to share more with you. The grid box paintings, two artists using the same color, same paint, uh, looking different. So the way that the way to bypass all the bullshit is what we call what do we call them, afterburns, or like the burned after images, the the all the negative connotations for what we call staring at a color, closing our eyes, and then seeing it behind our closed eyes in a different color. So the way that these cones and these rods in our eyes work mechanically and like divinely is they fatigue. They get color fatigue. So when you look away, you for a period of time while it regenerates its energy, it doesn't have the same amount of gusto to produce that imagery in your mind. So instead, you can look and see the same color, but you'll see, or not, but you'll see it's like opposite. You'll see its complement. You'll just see something different. And we relegate these things to unreal, right? It's like, oh, that's not a thing. It's like, no, actually, when I stare at the sun and then look away, those like floating, like those colors are colors still. Those are colors. And my eyes are tired from those frequencies and those colors. So because it doesn't have, it's like I don't. It's like resting from seeing those instead giving credence to what's left. And so in that way, when you take these color grids, right, and then you stare just at this, you stare, and then close your eyes, and then stare. Actually, like stare like I would go like opposite because it's like for a similar shape. You will see that color removed of that color, but with this like opposite color over top that color. And all of a sudden, you're seeing real colors that just aren't being conventionally produced anymore. Now, eventually, like muscles, things, you don't get tired as much. And then when your eyes don't get tired as much, what's also happening is that color that you were only seeing when you close your eyes, you can see it because your eyes have seen it enough to be like, oh no, that's a color. I know that color. And then you start seeing other colors, which is why the sky watchers are the ones being like, that's fucked up, that's different, because the converse of all the sky spraying and that's like a really third dimensional expression of something that's happening in multi-layered, like a multi-layered dimensionality is basically it's like making everything a mirror, and it's making everything like a cloudy mirror. But as we stare into skies, what do mirrors do when you shine light on them? They reflect, and sometimes they reflect them even brighter. So all you've got these people being like, wow, that's really weird. They don't have to stare at the sun, but they're staring at basically mirrors. And then their eyes are fatiguing. And then, so they're picking up all these other resonant colors. And then now they're seeing orbs. Now they're seeing like little like flecks and things and shit. It's like, whoa. It's like, no, yeah, of course you are. Because we're not blind to them anymore. And instead of being like, and because they're looking at the sky for things that are interesting, when they see something interesting, they're not cognitively disallowing. They're not going, I didn't really see that. It's like, what did I see in the corner of my eye? Nothing. Brain, you saw nothing. Instead, they're like, did I see something? I'm going to try and see it again. Which is why the sky watchers are seeing things that other people aren't seeing, because you have to train yourself to see. And that's kind of how those boxes work, is that you looking at different colors in the same frame are creating perceptual fatigue and or opportunity. I'm so glad you asked that, or not asked it, but like mentioned it. Uh, I don't know the Sykes. Oh no, like Sykes, like psych. Yeah, man. Rules are conditional love and attention. Exactly. Right. Which basically just isn't love and attention. Rules are like, this is love. As soon as you, uh, as soon as you speak of love, you can only speak of love um, abstractly or in the past tense as like reference, because loving isn't a thing you say. Loving isn't a thing that can be said. It's except in the way that we were talking with like resonant tones of frequency. It's like I'm saying I love you, but gosh, I'm really just singing my voice to you, because someone can say I love you and say I love you, and you know the difference. It's like I love you, and it's like chairs and furniture. It doesn't matter what you fucking say. It's how you say it. I agree. Even the thought without a box is still in the container of consciousness. I have a meditation on here, if you haven't checked it out, that I think that all my friends in this community would benefit from doing, even just once, for the kind of like consciousness ride that we go on. It's because once you open up the container to all, then, and this is just my thoughts, my experience, blah blah blah. It's like the polarity of isness. Eventually, there's like there's the container of all everything that is, everything that like isn't of everything, everything becomes like that oneness, that like only. And then the other side of that is, it's like it's nameless, it's not even void, it's like it's it's like the balancing polarity of fuck it, like I don't have to worry about that shit, like and then everything, and then so everything, so you can, so then we're free to kind of like fly and float. It's like, here I am, in the grand box, but not in a box. And that's about as close as boxless as you can get. I don't know what you, like, I also love using words that have been like almost like, like commandeered or taken to box vagina. So all this box talk, I have like a little guy in my head. It's like oh. Whatever, we all came from box. Bloom. One of my favorite words is ineffable. I would say, I would attempt to say it as gorgeous as that box's experiences of defining the ineffable divine as best as any individual can come to know. Exactly. And really, any individual can come to know, I think, anything and everything. And the only but is where we stop. And the key is stopping. Even when you know you're going to keep going forward. Like, it's only we can kind of quench like in the emerald tablets of Thoth, which is like, I don't know, man. Like that's my bag. Like I don't know where I would be without without the guidance and like the camaraderie that I found in those writings. Because I love all like the double meanings, the triple meanings, the no meanings. Uh, One of the things that it cleverly says is, in the search for truth, only in the search for truth can the fire within me be quenched. And the popular perception of that is, like only by searching for the truth can I find satisfaction. When really, it's like, what do we, when we quench a fire, what are we doing? Are we putting it out? Well, I don't know. Like, is that how you say it? Well, how do we say quench? It's like thirst. It's like when I quench my thirst, it's like now I'm not thirsty. So I'm not thirsty for the truth. The only thing that'll like quench my thirst is water. Well, the only thing that'll quench my fire is the search for truth. It's like, well, I don't want my fucking fire quenched. I want that fire to fucking blaze. So the only thing that will quench my fire is the search for, which then lends oneself to understand it's like, it's not truth that will quench the fire, but the searching for it. So said in a different way, what lights my fire is the finding. So let every quest be, let every treasure hunt be the end in and of itself, and I will thusly endlessly find truth, because the only thing that will quench my fire is searching for what I'm not finding. Searching for what I haven't found. And I think we can all kind of relate to that on our journey, that being like soul killing. A dynamic flow of balance. Equality is one of the fake words that was created in the like societal redesign of like 300, 400, 500 years ago. Equal, like in perception, beyond being a mathematical term, and even as such, didn't really exist because it's not a thing. And balance was like inherently, intrinsically understood to be this thing that flows, like walking in balance, not hopping, right? We like a dynamic flow of balance. And so I'm agreeing with you. I'm just kind of putting it in my words, all in balance in order to grow. Because otherwise you don't grow. There's no growth. It's not, and there's not even any decay. It's false. Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Oh, thank you for suggesting that, because now I will. My, thank you, because that's where I want to take this. I think that what's really missing is, like, I think like yourself, I really, really enjoy like the little like niggling that, and like the form and the beauty of writing that. If I said it, I wouldn't really say it like that, but reading it like that, you can pick up something or whatever. But then, yeah, that's cool. But it's I think there's so much opportunity in hearing what people are saying, or and just having a more direct experience of back and forth. Because I think, again, like you can relate. It's like by the time I say something, and whereas you would have started saying something, and I would have stopped fucking talking so I could hear you. Uh, I've moved on, or I've said something that you want to say something else, and then so it's like, fucking backspace, because anything worth really saying requires some thought, which means it's not going to take 3 seconds to type, and then it's already moved on to another thought. It's like, fuck, backspace. So I'm going to get on that, and then and kind of maybe schedule it or organize it in something so that we can create that opportunity, because I think that would be of great benefit to us all. Yeah. Gosh, I love everything that you've brought to this conversation, because it's like infinitely more rich than I had designed. Yeah. But I have to pee, and I'm still kind of committed to making those other videos. So I know that I'm going to be back, but with you, I'll close kind of in summary, what's like the most important part of this, because I mentioned the Sesame Street, I mentioned the commandments, and this is like, it's insidious, and dare I say even dangerous once you start realizing, because Declaration of Independence. It's like, if I'm declaring independence, what is that? It means I can not be independent. When I have the freedom of speech, does that mean I cannot have the freedom? Right? Every law that takes away my sovereignty, like one of my pet peeves is like the seatbelt law, and then the talking on the cell phone law, and then like that vein of bullshit. Because really, fuck you, I'm gonna do whatever I want, and I put a seatbelt on every single fucking time I'm in my car, because it's smart. And if I don't have my seatbelt on, it's because I've chosen that, because I'm smart. So fuck you. You have no right to tell me what I can and cannot do in a window of time that you've caught me. It's like, no texting and driving. Duh. But if I'm texting and driving, you know what that looks like? Safe. Not fucking around. Which means I almost never do it, because I'm not going to speak absolutely. But like one time out of probably every 100 times I jump in the car, I might shoot a text while I'm in it. And then 90% of that time, I'm at a red light. And then I stop. And I drive. And if I'm not done, then I'll pick it back up when I'm stopped again. But when we say, don't do this, don't do that, then it takes the responsibility of that, of like the consequences of such a choice away, and thusly gives gives like the punishment of disobeying that, not to actuality, but to authority. right? Because what's the consequence of texting and driving? You fucking crash. You fucking hurt someone. You might even fucking hurt yourself. So you don't do it. But if we superimpose a rule, a measurement, and say, no, 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 don't worry about the real consequences. Don't do it because we say so. Well, then that like inner dissonance, it's like, fuck you. Don't tell me what to do. In a world where basically we're not allowed to be ourselves, like with sovereignty, with freedom, with our own dome of free, then you know what? I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do this. I can't do that. Because I'm acting from the unconscious anyway, I'm going to fucking text and drive because it's my little piece of I'm just going to do whatever the fuck I want. I need to express that. And that's how unfortunate series of events occur. We don't need any of this shit. In fact, it's not even we don't need any of it. I guess the point of this share is to recognize that in our minds, right, going back to the, like, when you frame something in the negative, you're focusing on the, you know, when you say, I don't want to be poor, what, you know, all your, you know, you're just attracting poorness. Well, no, let's get deeper. Let's get more specific. When we're saying, I don't want poor, something like we're drawing poor out, we are creating its manifestation in, like we were saying with the boxes, like it's that is now a thing that exists, which is why I want to be rich. I want to be abundant. I have the right to travel. I have the right to, you know, have a shelter. I have the right. All of these rights take away from us, right? Like, and this is like a topic of not even a share today, but because it's like a ongoing like masterpiece of mine. But I'm starting to understand the deeper we go into like the divine like lineage, the divine, I want to say, like ancestry or like letters, there is a symbolic truth to the way that we communicate, and there is something to the very real truth that you have to give your sovereignty away. It cannot be taken away from you. That might actually be something so fucking fundamental to the universe that that the only way that they can do it is by fucking with our sounds, by creating these boxes and putting walls in them, using words, using ways of thinking, you know, like make for every scripture, make and divine language, make every E that we say, E, what sounds do E make? They can make E, they can make they can make like even A, you know, but like Elliot, right? Let's write ELLIOTT. Let's make that sound like Elliot instead of Erihu. It's like that. Maybe those symbols actually make that sound. So what we'll do is we'll use the symbols of divinity and change what people think they mean. So every time they say yes, it means no. And every time they say no, it means yes. And every time they say love, we say love, they're really saying fuck you. And every time they say fuck, they're really saying God. like, you know, like that's really God's name. So let's change that into a curse. But the thing about truth is, ha ha ha, joke's on you. We can make anything mean whatever we want it to mean. And with enough sovereignty, fuck means fuck you, and love means love, and I got you means I got you, means I got you, I got me, I got you. We're all the you, we're all the I, and my name is Elliot. Boom. You know what I mean? All I could ever, all no, not all I could, all I ever pray for is myself and yourself, and the space that we give. And I'm going to say take, in honoring your earlier comment of like, this is when I share, this is when I not share. Like, that's my dream, to remove the screen so that like this could literally just be our like every day, in between like breaking things and creating other things, but always laughing and having fun, except for when we want to roar and laugh and have fun, you know? So, you know what? In homage to Hermes Trismegistus and the Emerald Tablets. Nope. Like what this is, because this is like when it's just fun. Nothing rests, everything vibrates. What's the easy way to read that? Oh, there's like nothing is rest, everything is always moving. But what is really being said? Like, no thing rests, everything vibrates. So if you kind of like with realize I brought no thing, you're right. You brought the no thing that rests, while around it we vibrated, right? And now I gotta pee. Actually, I could hold it indefinitely, in lieu of leaving you. You know what I mean? But we're not going anywhere. No thing rests. And we're chilling. Dave, thanks very much for joining me. You know what? Maybe send me an email with your email. And I think it would be good times, or good vibes, or no times, in kind of in checking it and doing the Zoom thing, and building something that we are all desiring and creating. Because it's like your idea is a great idea, and it's my idea too. Yes, Dave. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for making this awesome. And I have to thank you for reminding me that any resistance that I experience in creating these videos, while like there isn't always someone else kind of here to share with, and I think that sometimes it takes you know the wind out from underneath me, kind of in like the Book of Law reference, like the woe and the sorrow of being alone is as nothing to the joy of reuniting. And it fills my heart so much to just be hanging out with a friend. And so it's worth trying whenever I feel inclined, whether it's uphill or downhill. All right. See what I did there? Because incline's implicit, like uphill, but I'm like, fuck you. All right, Dave. I'll talk to you later. I do love you, brother. And I love everybody that gets to be as lucky as jumping in on what we just experienced in their present. Namaste. And always talk soon. Like ALL ways. Peace and love.